Welcome to Strata Community Association introduction to this incredible consumer-friendly and needed and much necessary defect user guide. And I'm joined today by Dr Laura Crommelin from City Futures at University of New South Wales and Director of the Office of the Building Commissioner, Matt Press, who are going to step us through why we need such guides, how we've ended up here, and how you as consumers and also strata managers can benefit from this. So let's get straight into it. And Matt, thank you for joining us today. Office of the Building Commissioner and the need for consumer reform. So how do we end up here, and what benefit do you think the defects guide will provide to owners?
Look, Chris, thanks for inviting us here today. Office of the Building Commissioner is set up to lift public confidence in residential strata buildings. We know that there's been major failings in the last few years, and we're set up to change the game, lift standards across the supply chain, from developers, certifiers, architects, designers, and all the various trades, to make sure that when people buy a home, that they can have confidence in its safety and amenity.
Incredibly important job, and obviously regrettably came about due to a lack of consumer confidence from a number of high profile issues. And I guess one of the important things that we're looking for with the launch of today's defect guides is the fact that we're going to give more information and access of information to owners. Have you found from your experience that there's been a gap in terms of the knowledge?
Definitely, Chris, definitely, Chris. Unfortunately, people are having significant defects in their building, and they're being hurt financially, emotionally, and part of the problem is that they're not following the right process to get those defects resolved. So this guide that you've developed here with Laura is going to be a fantastic resource, because if people can follow those clear, simple steps here, they'll have the best chance of actually getting an efficient, good outcome for themselves.
Yeah, excellent. So, Laura, to that point, City Futures at University of New South Wales, along with UTS and proudly Strata Community Association, have developed these defect guides. So how did this project come about, and how do we end up with obviously such a pressing need for information to be pushed to owners?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We've been working on Strata as researchers for a long time, and almost 10 years ago did a project on the governance of Strata, and defects came up then as an issue that owners were trying to deal with and having trouble. So we've been looking for ways ever since to help out in this space, and it's great to finally have the opportunity to put something really practical like this out that owners can use and help them to step through that. So I think we're really hopeful it'll make life a lot easier for owners who find themselves grappling with defects.
And I'll say that this is the culmination of a number of series of research projects, starting with the, is it the Cracks in the Compact City or the Governing the Compact City projects?
Yeah, so Governing the Compact City was that first one, and now this is part of a broader research project we're doing, looking at the issue of building defects, which is called Cracks in the Compact City. And it's been a really great opportunity to delve into that challenge in a lot more depth, and also, as I said, try to find ways to actually help the people who are facing this day to day. So something really practical and useful for them.
That's right. And Matt, if I can say that the Office of the Building Commissioner's mandate is about reforming the compact city, and although that's not your actual agenda, the pillars of reform that you're going through, I can say from personal experience, are having material and meaningful impact to reshaping confidence. This is one of the many pillars, Matt, that you're currently and very actively implementing across New South Wales.
Yeah, it's great. Part of our mandate here, Chris, is to bring industry along with us. So that's a fantastic. It's fantastic to see SCA, leading from the front there and investing in the New South Wales community and the building sector. That's a fantastic thing to see straight off. But our role is to sort of drive the change across all the practitioners in the industry and really make them much more customer focused. So where they're going about their job, be they a strata manager, a tiler, a developer, we want them thinking about what they're doing as if they were the end customer. And this resource here helps achieve that, because it's a document that's going to be easy to follow, so people can get through what's generally a very difficult and challenging problem much more easily than before.
I mean, and obviously you've got a whole of supply chain reform agenda. This piece is for the owner, the consumer, the person who inherits obviously that building product at the end of the day. So information is clearly critical to help them navigate that. And if I could simplify it, your work is obviously making sure that better buildings are delivered, and this particular process will ensure that owners have a better understanding about how to navigate that process. And here is a hard copy version, Laura, of how it works. So step us through, Laura, how an owner or a strata manager would navigate through the defects guides.
Yeah, sure. So it's also useful, I should note, for buyers potentially. There's a bit of information in there if you're looking to buy into strata, how to find out what's happening with the building. It's a really simple kind of web interface. So it's what you call a decision tree. It asks you a series of yes, no, or quite simple questions. Have you already found defects, or are you looking into the issue? Are you on the strata committee? Where are the defects? Are they in common property, or are they in individual lots? Those kinds of things. And depending on the answers to those questions, it then directs you to a bunch of different fact sheets that flesh out a whole lot of stuff that you need to know about who to ask for information, how to get good advice, how to work with your neighbours to tackle the issue, and some of the things to look out for in terms of your rights and responsibilities as an owner as well.
I mean, I will note there that when you go into one of these 13 very detailed fact sheets, it's the supplementary information and the additional sort of resources that are available that sit behind that are rather significant. So clearly there's been a lot of clever people put their head around this, Laura. How many people have collaborated to bring together this incredible resource for owners?
Yeah, look, it's been a lot of work. We've had a number of great researchers here in our team. I should mention in particular Sean Thompson and Caitlin Buckle. We've got colleagues at UTS who've been working on this as well. And it is really, as we said, this is an issue we've been looking at for a long time. So it's a culmination of all of those years of speaking to owners, speaking to all of the industry experts, organisations like SCA who've really helped us out to get our head around the complexity of how strata works and how best to navigate some of these challenges.
Oh, no, we're looking forward to launching it. So, Matt, in terms of fair trading's role, and obviously there's a keen desire for more data to be held by government so that they can better inform policy development. And I know SCA is working with you on a number of projects, but you also want owners to be logging and in time advising fair trading as one of the first ports of call so that you're better informed as to the impact and obviously the extent of defects. So do you think that more education for owners is going to assist them to be able to be pushed towards fair trading at a first call?
Yeah, and I think that's a great part of the guide, that it's telling people, one, investigate the issue, so get in some building professionals to find out the nature of the defect before you go any further. And two, contact fair trading. If you contact fair trading, the regulator's got a lot of powers, and particularly now with new legislation that's come in, more powers than ever before to do audits, pre and post occupancy. But we really need to have the information on the buildings affected and the parties involved in those defective buildings, so we can take action. So we can sort of knock those non-compliant people out of the industry. And if we don't have the complaints information, then we're flying blind. So we really do need to encourage people to have confidence in the regulator and lodge a complaint, because that data helps us going forward.
But this is part of a collective responsibility. I mean, strata managers need to do their job in terms of upskilling themselves and advising their clients, but owners likewise need to educate themselves and access these resources, which is why it's so important for them. And likewise, we need to collaborate with your department, the Office of Building Commissioner and Fair Trading, to ensure that you have the necessary insights to be able to shape policy and to act on those players that obviously need more immediate intervention.
Definitely. A big part of our role in the office, Chris, is to make sure that we improve and enhance the capabilities of fair trading and the building regulation team, so that they're far more impactful in what they do, that they use the full range of powers available to them to make sure that we can resolve issues quickly and effectively. So the more people we have contacting fair trading, the more we can drive that change in culture and behaviour.
Excellent. So, Laura, let's summarise, because there's a 5-step process which you've identified as call it the steps that owners should be aware of when dealing with defects. Can you summarise those for us?
Yeah, sure. They're really sort of key principles that underpin a lot of the more specific advice in the guides. So the first thing is that ignorance isn't bliss. You have a responsibility as an owner to tackle defects, so it's best to be on the front foot about it. Information is power, so the more information and good quality information you can get, the better. Sharing is caring, as we put it, which picks up on Matt's point there that there are a number of people you should be telling about your issues and getting their help along the way, including fair trading. Also, your insurer probably wants to know, and keeping good records of all of that. Looking after yourself is really important as well. That's a really key part of it. This, as we've mentioned, can be a stressful and slow process, and you sort of have to be prepared for it and work, caringly with your partners and your fellow owners as well. And the other thing, I guess, to note is that the early bird catches the worm. So there are time frames and things that apply to some of these issues. And again, being on the front foot, tackling this as soon as, say, you start to think about it, even if you move into a new building, or as soon as you find you've got a problem, then you're really well set up rather than sort of scrambling to meet deadlines if you leave things too long down the track.
I don't think I've ever heard it summarised in such plain English and easily understood language for owners, which I guess is the key point of these defect guides. So I'd like to thank you, Dr Laura Crommelin from the University of New South Wales City Futures Department, Matt Press, the Director of the Office of the Building Commissioner. Thank you very much for assisting us launch this incredible guide. There is plenty of information, there's rich data, and we acknowledge that this is a challenging issue, which is why SCA has partnered with City Futures to produce this guide. And we thank you once again. We hope the consumers get value out of it, and we look forward to assisting both of you on reforming New South Wales' construction agenda to improve consumer confidence.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks so much for the support, and also Matt. And yeah, we look forward to hearing how people find using the guide. We'd love any feedback about changes we can make to make it even more useful down the track.
Yeah, well done, Chris, and well done, Laura. This is a fantastic resource, and it's really going to help us put more confidence back in the market. Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.